Hey, what's going on, guys? Nick, the Metal Nerd, back with another episode of the Metal Nerd Radio Show on the Metal Nerd Podcast. What is going on, guys? I'm glad to be back. Thank you for everyone who tuned in to last week's show on Overkill Radio. And thank you for Overkill for featuring me. That'll be a regular spot every Wednesday at 5 p.m., so make sure to keep a lookout for that. So yeah, thanks guys for tuning in. First, we're gonna start off with a little bit of news. We're talking about some things going on, such as Serj Tankian may be looking at leaving System of a Down again. So Taken recently revealed he offered to quit the band in 2017 so they can move on with new music, and is now reiterating that offer in an interview with Metal Hammer.
Would you be okay with a band going on without you with like a different singer in your place?
Absolutely. I've offered them that opportunity and been very supportive of it many years if they wanted to do that. If they wanted to continue in a way that I didn't. For example, if they wanted to tour a lot and I just want to do a couple of shows here and there because I'm not into touring a lot, it's to be fair to them. If they wanted to do that, I'm totally open to it still. You know, I'm not sure they want to do that. They haven't until now. And, I think it would take something away from the prestige and legacy of the band itself. But as friends and as someone who cares very much about my partners, I would be okay with it.
Taken also touched on some fiery comments made by System of a Down drummer. In the end, to me, System of a Down is beyond the band. It's our relationship together and means more to me than the band itself or even the music itself. That's hard for other people, maybe even other people in the band, to understand. But as I saw from the stage at Sick New World last year, the multi generational appeal of the music we have as made is mind blowing. Our music is more timeless than we ever imagined, and that is a hugest compliment for any artist. In a recent interview, Taken opened up about differences with System of a Down guitarist Darren Malakin, how they resulted in a lack of new material.
Um, what changing the dynamic is basically years of time and the progression of the band, the success of the band, everything that happened in between the day that we met and now basically, so 25, 30 years, a lot changes in that time, um, and uh, you know and so I think that's a part of it. I think Darren's always, like I said earlier, he's been a lifer and he's incredibly serious about his music, and he's incredibly protective of his music and vulnerable due to his music. All of those things kind of go together. So it's those things I think that created some of the you know creative differences that we started finding. And it's also our progression. Listen, when Darren and I started working together, I didn't really write a lot of instrumental music. I mostly wrote lyrics. I was the lyricist, I was the singer. And he didn't write any lyrics, he just wrote music. But as time progressed and I played more musical instruments and I started becoming a songwriter, composer, and he started writing more lyrics, it kind of, we started kind of covering each other's territory. And I was okay with that because if he wrote lyrics, I was trying to encourage him to write more. Because I believe in artistic growth. I believe in progression. I don't believe in things staying the same way because for music's sake, otherwise the music becomes the same thing over and over again. That progression is necessary in every artist's life or in every group's life. So I was very encouraging of that. And I just wish that I got some of that back, right? And so that wasn't the case. And it was disappointing and it became a creative difference.
So, I mean, I guess it kind of, I don't know if it seems more like he's blaming Darren in the sense that Darren kind of took over a lot of the songwriting and didn't really allow Serge that much in terms of the instrumental writing. What sucks, it sucks. Like, I know it's the hardest thing whenever you're a band and together and you're trying to write music. That's probably one of the hardest things besides like working around each other's schedule is actually writing music and being like, well, I think it should be this way, I think it should be that way. I wrote this, he didn't like that. So sometimes it can be some of the most painful things going through with bands, trying to write the music. Serge also has had some drama with Imagine Dragons. with the lead vocalist. Well, not necessarily lead vocalist, but them as a band.
Recent weeks, System of a Down frontman Serj Tankian has been calling out Imagine Dragons vocalist Dan Reynolds and his group's decision to perform in Azerbaijan. Last year, he released an open letter imploring them to withdraw from the show. He wrote at the time, "Now it has to be said, a few months ago, it came to my attention that Imagine Dragons had planned a show on September 2nd in Azerbaijan. I was sure that they were unaware that Azerbaijan's petro-oligarchic dictatorial regime was starving 120,000 people, which is now being called a genocide by the former prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Luis Moreno Ocampo. So, through representatives, I sent them a kind letter urging them to reconsider playing their show in Azerbaijan, as it would help whitewash the dictatorial regime's image there. I included various articles, including one by Amnesty International, who I was told they've worked with in the past. There was no response, no answer, no response. As the humanitarian crisis worsens, with starvation already being recorded, I'm forced to publicize this letter and their disregard for this humanitarian catastrophe. Maybe they felt they had a legal liability to play the show. Maybe they just don't care. My whole life I've been an advocate for genocide recognition and have always said there's a price to pay for genocidal regimes or deniers. Another genocide is looming by Azerbaijan, and while this happens, they get to enjoy an American band from LV. Fuck that. That's not right."
Ooh. Yeah, you fucked up if you're getting shit from Serj.
In a recent interview with Metal Hammer, Serj was asked about Imagine Dragons, and he slammed them, saying they're not good human beings. He said, "I don't know these guys, but who are these people? I don't understand that type of thinking." Very close thereafter, Azerbaijan attacked the people, and 120,000 people left their historical homes. Look, I'm not a judge for people to tell bands where to play or where not to play. You have other artists playing in very questionable kingdoms run by one person where people don't have a lot of human rights. And I get that they're doing it for money, that they're artists, that they're entertaining, all of that. But when there's a government that's about to commit ethnic cleansing, when Azerbaijan was starving the 120,000 Armenians and not allowing any food or medicine in, as an artist, if I found that out, there's no way I could have gone and played that show. But some artists do. And I don't know what to say about those artists. I don't respect them as human beings. Fuck their art. They're not good human beings as far as I'm concerned.
Whew, yeah, Serj's telling you that, you might want to reconsider what you're saying. So there was a response from Imagine Dragons vocalist Dan Reynolds.
For the first time, Imagine Dragons' Dan Reynolds addressed the situation publicly. He was asked about it by Rolling Stone. He rejected Serj's assertion that it was wrong for him to play in the country, referring to it as a slippery slope. He said, "I think the second you start to do that, there's corrupt leaders and warmongers all over the world. And where do you draw the line?" Serj shared a picture of Dan Reynolds' response on his Instagram with a statement replying to what Reynolds said in the interview. He wrote, "Dan Reynolds stated, I don't believe in depriving our fans who want to see us play because of the acts of their leaders and their governments. I think that's a really slippery slope. I think the second you start to do that, there's corrupt leaders and warmongers all over the world, and where do you draw the line?" Serj said, "Respectfully, I draw the line at ethnic cleansing and genocide. Azerbaijan's dictatorship, with popular support, was already into a 9-month starvation blockade, qualified as genocide by a former International Criminal Court's prosecutor when they decided to play Baku. Would they play in Nazi Germany? Why don't they want to play in Russia? Because it's not popular? They support Ukraine, but not Armenians? The only slippery slope is the farce moral equivalency at the heart of this hypocritical attitude. I have nothing against this guy nor his band. I just hate artists being taken advantage of to whitewash genocidal dictatorships."
So yeah, Serj had a lot to say about that. I mean, I think it's one thing to do something like that, and pretend like you're unaware and ignore Serj's letter. But I think if you really wanted to reach out to the people there, I mean, maybe you could do like a benefit show or something, I mean, they're starving. You could have done some kind of benefit show, pull all the funds towards feeding them. But instead, you just played their show, and it was just kind of like, okay, you got to pay for our show, and you got and you got to starve. So yeah, I think that's kind of interesting. Like they could have. There's something they could have done, I think. To at least, I understand it's a business, gotta make money, but when you know you're going through something like that, and you know countries are going through something like that, and you want them to play your show, pay for your show, and just not even give anything back, it's kind of messed up. So I feel Serj on that one. Definitely has. I mean, who really likes Imagine Dragons anyway? So yeah, some things going on with Serj and System of a Down. So yeah, I don't know if he might be leaving. We'd have to see a world without Serj and System of a Down. I mean, I think they kind of might as well start their own things, you know, if that's gonna happen, because Serj is just such a huge part of that band, you know. But I guess they kind of are, because the bassist from System of a Down, Shallow, has a new project featuring Taylor Barber doing vocals, wins to play guitarist, guitarist backing vocalist Alejandro Arandanda from, I guess he's from American Idol, I don't know. Josh Johnson of Winds of Plague. I dropped a new single, it's called Paradise. Shalva says the song opens the album and showcases the various dynamics we explored throughout, which makes it the perfect introduction to 7 Hours After Violet. I've been making music for over 30 years. I wanted to do something super heavy but melodic, and came back to my roots. Until this band, every project I've done has been outside the walls of heavy music. I steered away from anything heavy because of System of a Down. Once I got started with 7 Hours After Violet, I had to let go of that. I said, let me go with my gut and just do what I'm best at. For the first time ever in my career, I just said, as long as I love it, I don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks, and that was extremely liberating. 7 Hours After Violet is a result. It's my favorite thing I've done to the System, and I can't wait for the world to hear it. So let's hear it, world.